Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking into something pretty wild.
Oh, yeah.
Deepseek, this new open source AI model
Yeah.
coming straight out of China. It's,
It's interesting, right?
yeah,
It's really
shaking
clear.
things up.
Yeah.
And we're going to break down why it matters to you.
So it is fascinating how these norms of AI development are being challenged by it. We always see these big companies with tons of cash leading the charge.
Yeah.
But DeepSeek is proving that might not always be the case.
Yeah, and, our deep dive today is based on this PC Guide article
Okay.
called Expert Claims DeepSeek Could Bring the End of Closed Source AI.
Right.
Pretty bold statement, right?
It is a bold statement.
And even just the fact that NVIDIA stock prices took a dip after DeepSeek was announced tells you something big is happening.
Yeah, that stock dip is really saying something.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes about the potential disruption that DeepSeek represents. Investors are clearly recognizing a shift in the AI landscape.
For sure.
What I think is particularly interesting is that DeepSeek's success stems from a more efficient approach to development.
Yeah, and the article actually quotes this AI researcher, Michael Pound, from the University of Nottingham,
Okay.
and he calls DeepSeek a game changer. He's really impressed by how they've managed to create such a powerful AI model without relying on the most expensive hardware.
Yeah, Pound's point about the viability of closed source AI in this new landscape is
Yeah.
it's pretty thought-provoking. If DeepSeek can achieve these results with limited resources,
Yeah.
it really raises questions about the long-term sustainability of the closed source model.
So let's get into this whole open source versus closed source debate.
Okay,
You've probably heard these terms thrown around a lot, but what do they actually mean when we're talking about AI?
right.
So DeepSeek is taking the open source route, which basically means they're giving everyone access to the nuts and bolts of their model. The data sets, the parameters, all the ingredients that went into making it.
That's a stark contrast to companies like OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT,
Yeah.
who keep their models very tightly under wraps.
Yeah.
They operate in a closed source environment which limits transparency and control for anyone outside the company.
And I think this is so fascinating because both approaches have their own advantages and challenges.
Sure.
Like with open source, you have this transparency. Imagine being able to peek behind the curtain and see exactly how the AI model was built.
Yeah.
This openness could build more trust and understanding.
It could also foster collaboration
Yeah.
on a global scale.
Yeah.
When you make these tools accessible to everyone,
Right.
you're tapping into this vast network of developers, researchers, and enthusiasts who can contribute to the model's evolution.
Totally.
I mean, imagine the potential for innovation when you have a global community working together on an AI project.
Absolutely. But of course, there are valid concerns about control and potential misuse as well.
Who for sure?
Like with closed source AI, you have a single entity making decisions about the model's development and deployment. But when you open it up to the world, it becomes much harder to regulate and predict how the technology might be used.
Yeah, it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
It's a trade-off with both opportunities and risks.
For sure. So let's get into the specifics of the DeepSeek R1 model, the one that's causing all this buzz.
Okay.
One of the things that jumps out is the sheer number of parameters. It boasts 670 billion.
Wow, that's a staggering number.
It's a lot.
It is. And it's important to understand what parameters are and why they matter.
Okay.
Think of parameters as the building blocks of an AI model's understanding. They represent the connections and weights that allow the model to process information and make decisions.
So the more parameters, the more sophisticated the model.
In a way, yes. Having a large number of parameters can allow an AI model to capture more nuances and complexities in the data it's trained on. This can potentially lead to more accurate and sophisticated outputs.
But it's not as simple as just adding more and more parameters, is it?
You're right, it's not just about quantity. Having too many parameters can actually be detrimental.
Okay.
If a model has an excessive number of parameters, it might become too specialized, essentially memorizing the data it was trained on instead of learning the underlying patterns. This can lead to a phenomenon called overfitting, where the model performs well on the training data, but struggles to generalize to new, unseen data.
So it's about finding the right balance then.
Exactly. The number of parameters needs to be optimized for the specific task and data set the model is designed to handle. It's about finding the sweet spot where the model is complex enough to capture the nuances of the data without becoming overly specialized and rigid.
Gotcha. And what's remarkable is that DeepSeek has achieved this massive scale with 670 billion parameters,
Yeah.
while also managing to keep development costs remarkably low.
They've reportedly spent around $6 million to create Deepseek,
Yeah, that's nothing.
which is a drop in the bucket compared to the billions
Right.
invested in other large language models. This cost-effectiveness has sent shockwaves through the AI industry, and it's a testament to their innovative approach to development.
Yeah, this low cost is particularly significant when you consider the potential implications. Imagine a world where powerful AI tools aren't just accessible to tech giants with billions to spend.
Right.
What if smaller companies, startups, even individual researchers could develop sophisticated AI solutions without breaking the bank?
It's a tantalizing prospect.
It is.
Isn't it DeepSeek's approach could potentially democratize access to AI development, leading to a more diverse and innovative landscape? It's still early days, but the possibilities are truly exciting.
Yeah, and this is where DeepSeek's use of a MOE architecture comes in. Instead of relying on brute force computing power, they've implemented a more efficient approach that could be a game changer for the AI industry.
This is where things get really interesting.
Okay, so let's unpack this MOE architecture a bit.
Sure.
I know it stands for Mixture of Experts,
Yeah.
but I'm curious to hear how it actually works in practice.
Imagine you have a complex problem to solve,
Okay.
and you assemble a team of specialists,
Right.
each with their own unique expertise. You wouldn't ask your culinary expert to solve a complex math problem, right?
Definitely not. Unless it involved calculating the perfect baking time for a souffle, maybe?
Haha, good point.
Yeah.
Well, a MOE architecture works in a similar way.
Yeah.
The AI model is divided into these specialized modules, or experts,
Okay.
each trained on a particular aspect of the data. When a task comes in, the model dynamically selects the most relevant experts to handle it.
So instead of activating the entire model for every single task, DeepSeek only uses the parts that are actually needed.
Exactly.
Kind of like having a team of specialists on call ready to tackle specific problems.
Exactly. This allows DeepSeek to be incredibly efficient, reducing the computational power and hardware required, which ultimately lowers the development cost.
Hmm.
And this efficiency doesn't seem to come at the expense of performance either. It's a clever way to scale AI without breaking the bank.
That's a pretty incredible feat, and I'm starting to see why people are calling DeepSeek a potential disruptor. It challenges the conventional wisdom that you need massive resources to build powerful AI. But if DeepSeek's approach proves successful, it could really shake things up in the AI world.
It's a fascinating development to watch unfold. If DeepSeek can deliver on its promise of affordable, accessible AI,
Yeah.
it could have ripple effects throughout the tech industry and beyond.
And it's not just about the technology itself, it's about who gets to develop and control it. DeepSeek's open source approach could potentially level the playing field, allowing for a more diverse and decentralized AI landscape. It's an exciting prospect, but it also raises important questions about responsibility, ethics, and the future of AI development.
That's a crucial point.
Mm-hmm.
As we move into this new era of AI,
Yeah.
it's essential to consider the broader societal implications. We need to have open and honest conversations about the potential benefits and risks of this technology and work together to ensure its responsible development and deployment.
And speaking of potential risks, there is one aspect of DeepSeek that I think we need to address head-on: censorship.
Okay.
Some reports suggest that the API version of R1, the specific model we're discussing, incorporates certain censorship mechanisms, particularly around sensitive political topics.
You're referring to the BBC's attempt to question the AI about the Tiananmen Square incident, right?
Yeah.
The AI reportedly responded with a generic message avoiding a direct answer. This raises some important questions about the potential for bias and control, even in an open source environment.
It's a reminder that technology is never neutral. The values and biases of the creators are often embedded in the systems they build.
That's why it's so crucial to have diverse voices and perspectives involved in AI development.
Yeah.
We need to ensure that these systems are designed and deployed in a way that benefits humanity as a whole.
Absolutely. It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Mm-hmm.
But as AI becomes increasingly integrated into our lives, it's a conversation we need to have.
Now, circling back to the impact on NVIDIA, the drop in their stock value is a telling sign. It suggests that DeepSeek's success with limited hardware is being taken seriously by the market.
It makes you wonder, what if DeepSeek's approach becomes the new standard for AI development? What would that mean for companies like NVIDIA, who have built their business on providing the high-powered GPUs needed for these massive AI models?
It's a legitimate concern. If the demand for those expensive GPUs decreases, it could significantly disrupt their business model. This highlights the dynamic nature of the tech industry, where innovation can rapidly reshape entire markets.
It's like the old saying, what got you here won't get you there.
Right.
Companies need to adapt and evolve to stay relevant, especially in a field as fast-moving as AI.
And Deepseek's approach is a stark reminder that innovation doesn't always come from the biggest players with the deepest pockets. Sometimes it's the challengers, the ones thinking outside the box, who push the boundaries and force everyone else to adapt.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive, but there's still so much more to explore.
In the next part, we'll delve even deeper into the nuances of Deepseek's MOE architecture and examine the potential implications of its open-source approach for the future of AI development.
Stay tuned.
Picking up where we left off, let's dive a little deeper into Deepseek's MOE architecture.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about having a team of specialized experts?
Right.
It's not just an analogy. It's a really powerful approach to AI development.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around this whole concept. It's such a different way of thinking about AI compared to the traditional monolithic models.
It is. It's a real departure from the norm.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so intriguing. Imagine, instead of having one massive AI model that tries to do everything,
Right.
you have this network of smaller, specialized models,
Okay.
each one trained to excel at a particular task.
So let's say I need Deepseek to translate a document from English to Mandarin.
Okay.
Instead of activating the entire model, it would just call upon the expert module that's specifically designed for language translation.
Exactly.
That's
This targeted approach not only saves computational resources, but also it can potentially improve performance.
Oh.
Each expert module can be fine-tuned for its specific domain,
right.
leading to higher accuracy and efficiency.
It's like having a team of specialized doctors, each focused on a different area of medicine rather than one general practitioner trying to handle everything.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
In the same way that a cardiologist is best suited to address heart-related issues, an AI expert module trained on language translation would be the go-to for that specific task.
Makes sense.
Hmm.
But how does the model know which expert to call upon? How does it make those decisions in real time?
That's where the gating network comes in. Think of it as a traffic controller,
Okay.
directing incoming tasks to the most relevant expert module. This gating network learns to identify the key features of a task, and then it routes it to the expert that's best equipped to handle it.
So it's not just a static division of labor.
Right.
It's a dynamic system that adapts to the task at hand.
Exactly, and that's one of the key advantages of the MOE architecture. It allows the AI model to be incredibly adaptable and efficient, only using the resources necessary for a given task.
It's like having a toolbox filled with specialized tools, and you only pull out the ones you need for a specific job.
That's a great way to visualize it. And this approach has some pretty big implications for the future of AI development. It could potentially make powerful AI models more accessible to a wider range of developers and researchers.
And that brings us back to Deepseek's open source philosophy.
Yeah.
By making this technology freely available, they're essentially opening up the possibilities for others to build upon their work, adapt it, and create new and innovative applications.
Imagine a world where AI development isn't just limited to large corporations with massive resources.
Right.
What if small businesses, startups, even individual developers could access and utilize these powerful tools?
It could lead to an explosion of creativity and innovation in the AI space. It's like opening up the source code of a popular software program and allowing anyone to contribute to its development.
Precisely. And this open source approach could also have a really profound impact on research and education.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine students and researchers around the world having access to these cutting-edge AI models, being able to experiment with them and contribute to their advancement.
Yeah, it could accelerate the pace of discovery and lead to breakthroughs in all sorts of fields, from medicine to climate science to art and music.
The possibilities are truly limitless. And it's not just about technological advancements, it's about fostering a global community of collaboration and knowledge sharing. It's about democratizing access to powerful tools and empowering people to create positive change in the world.
It's an inspiring vision, but as with any powerful technology, there are some potential downsides to consider.
Of course.
One concern that's been raised is the potential for misuse. If anyone can access and modify these AI models, how do we prevent them from falling into the wrong hands?
That's a valid concern, and it's one that the open source community is actively grappling with. It's about striking a balance between openness and responsibility. Transparency is crucial, but so are safeguards and ethical guidelines to prevent malicious use.
It's a giving everyone access to a powerful toolkit.
Right.
You want to empower them to build and create, but you also need to ensure that those tools are used responsibly and ethically.
Exactly. It's a shared responsibility that requires collaboration and ongoing dialogue between developers, researchers, policymakers, and the public.
Now, speaking of responsibility, we can't ignore the impact that Deepseek's success could have on companies like NVIDIA. If this trend towards more efficient AI models continues, what does that mean for the companies that have built their businesses on providing the high-powered hardware for these massive AI systems?
It's a question worth pondering. If the demand for those expensive GPUs decreases, it could disrupt their business model. However, I think it's important to view this as an opportunity for adaptation and innovation, rather than simply a threat.
Right. It's a chance for these companies to reevaluate their strategies and explore new avenues for growth.
Yep.
Maybe they focus on developing hardware specifically tailored for these more efficient AI models, or perhaps they branch out into new areas of the tech industry.
Exactly. The tech landscape is constantly evolving, and companies that can adapt and embrace change are the ones that thrive. DeepSeek's emergence is a catalyst for this kind of adaptation, pushing the entire industry forward.
It's a reminder that innovation doesn't always come from the established players. Sometimes it's the challengers, the ones thinking outside the box, who force everyone else to reevaluate their assumptions and adapt to a new reality.
And DeepSeek's journey is far from over.
Right.
They've made a bold statement with their open source approach and their MOE architecture, but it's still early days.
We're all eagerly watching to see how this unfolds, and in the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore the potential long-term implications of DeepSeek's approach and what it might mean for the future of AI development. We've spent this deep dive exploring DeepSeek, this really interesting new AI model from China, and it's kind of incredible how they've managed to achieve these impressive results with a pretty low development cost.
Yeah, that cost effectiveness is definitely one of the most compelling aspects of DeepSeek. It challenges that assumption that you need massive resources to build powerful AI.
Right.
And that has the potential to open up a whole new world of possibilities
Yeah.
for smaller companies, independent researchers.
Yeah. Like DeepSeek is saying, hey, you don't need billions of dollars in a server farm the size of a small city to get into the AI game.
Right. It's about
It's pretty cool.
democratizing access to these powerful tools,
Right.
enabling a more diverse range of voices and perspectives to shape the future of this technology.
And when you have that kind of diversity,
Right.
you get more creative solutions, more innovative approaches.
Yeah, and a broader consideration of the ethical implications as well.
That brings us to a question that's been on my mind throughout this whole deep dive.
Okay.
What does DeepSeek's emergence mean for the future of AI development?
Right.
Is this the beginning of a new era where open source models and more efficient architectures like MOE become the norm?
It's certainly possible DeepSeek has shown that there's a viable alternative to that traditional model of closed source development
Right.
that's dominated by those handful of tech giants.
That's almost like a David and Goliath story.
Yeah.
DeepSeek is challenging the established order, showing that innovation can come from these unexpected places.
And this challenge could actually benefit everyone,
Yeah.
including the established players. It forces them to reevaluate their strategies, push the boundaries of innovation, and consider new ways to make AI more accessible and beneficial
Right.
to society as a whole.
Competition breeds progress.
It does.
And in the rapidly evolving world of AI, that progress can be exponential.
Absolutely.
We might see a whole new generation of AI models emerge,
Right.
each one building on the innovations of its predecessors, pushing the limits of what's even possible.
It's a very exciting time to be witnessing this evolution.
It is.
It's not just about the technology itself. It's about the impact it has on our lives, our societies, our understanding of the world around us.
AI has the potential to revolutionize so many aspects of our lives, from healthcare and education to transportation and entertainment.
Yeah.
But with that potential comes a huge responsibility
Oh, absolutely.
to ensure that it's developed and used ethically,
Yes.
responsibly.
We need to be having these open and honest conversations about the potential benefits and risks.
Yeah.
And we need to establish these clear guidelines and regulations to prevent its misuse.
It's a balancing act, right?
It is.
We want to encourage innovation and progress, but we also need to be mindful of the potential consequences.
It's like navigating uncharted waters.
Yeah.
We have a compass and a map, but the terrain is constantly shifting,
Right.
and we need to be prepared to adjust our course as we go.
And that's where the importance of dialogue and collaboration comes in.
Right.
We need to bring together all these diverse perspectives, from technologists and ethicists to policymakers and the general public, to make sure that AI is developed and used in a way that benefits everyone.
That's a really powerful message to leave our listeners with. The future of AI is not predetermined. Right. It's a story that we're all writing together.
And by engaging in these conversations, Asking these tough questions, demanding transparency and accountability,
Right.
we can help shape that story in a positive and beneficial direction.
So let this deep dive be a starting point for your own exploration.
Yeah.
Stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay engaged.
Because the future of AI is in our hands. Thanks for joining us on this journey, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of technology and innovation.